another class. Okay. Yes. Now, based on the reusability of classes, based on the reusability of based on the reusability of classes, okay, or organization of classes, inheritance has been classified classified into different types or categories. Like you have a single level inheritance, you have a multi-level inheritance, single level inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance, okay, hierarchical inheritance, and there is one more which is called as hybrid inheritance. Based on the reusability of classes or organization of classes, inheritance has been classified into different types or categories. That is single level inheritance, multi level inheritance, multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and one more is what? Hybrid inheritance. Of classes. This is based on the reusability of classes. You have a different types of what? Inheritances, like single level, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical, and one more is what? Hybrid. In the hierarchy of inheritance, okay, see here. In the hierarchy of inheritance, for example, it is just like a parent, and what is that? Child. A child inherit the properties and behavior of which parent. For example, there is a class A is there. There is a class A is there, and there is one more class called which one? B. So in this case, A is called as which class? Parent class, and B is called as which class? Child class. Now B class inherit all the properties and methods of which class? A class. So where A is called as which class? Parent class, or it is called as a super class. It is called as a super class or parent class, or it is also called as which one? Base class. And child class, I mean, child will inherit all the properties. Now, this you can call it as which class? Child class. It is called as which class? Subclass. It is called as which class? Derived class. So, inheritance even allows to build a data type based on what? Existing data type. Inheritance allows to build data type. So what I said is the main objective of object oriented is building your own data types. Data types are data structures, and you are building your own data type based on which data type? Existing data types. Inheritance allows to build data types using what here? Existing data types. So that will provide extensibility. Okay, that will provide what again? Extensibility. It will not only provide reusability, it also provide what? Extensibility. Now you can say A, B is a type of which one? A. So what is the relation between A and B? Is a relation. For example, assume that there is a class. Assume that there is a class. What is the name of the class here? Animal. So here, in the hierarchy of inheritance, okay, in the hierarchy of inheritance, always the base class or parent class is called as a generalized class. In the hierarchy of inheritance, the base class is called as which class? Generalized class. Now this is called as which class? Parent class, or you can call it as super class. It is also called as which class? Generalized class. Parent class, super class, or one more is what here? Generalized class. Generalized. Okay, dog is a Dog is a type of which one? Animal. I mean, dog inherit all the properties of which one? Animal. And dog is also having his own properties. So you can call this as which class? Child class. And you can call this as which class? Subclass. You can call this as which class here? Specialized class. So this is called as a child class. This is called as which one? Subclass. This is also called as which class? Specialized class. This is generalized. Generalized is based on the commonality. This is having common properties and what functions. There is a common properties and functions of which one? Animal. All common properties and functions of which one? Animal will be there in which class? Animal class. And this common properties and functions inherited by what? Dog. And then dog is having his own properties and what? Functions. Dog is having his own properties and what? Function. Now dog is a animal. So what is the relationship between the parent and child is here? Is a relation. It means dog is a type of which one? Animal. You're trying to build a new data type using which data type? Existing data type. You are building new data type by inheriting the properties and behavior of which data type? Existing data type. And that you are doing it. That you are doing it by using what here? Inheritance. So dog is a type of animal. Okay, suppose suppose assume that there is a student. Student is called as here generalized. Student is called as which one? Generalized. It means student is having some common properties and behavior of what? Students. Okay, assume that every student is having some properties. Okay, assume that this is a student class. What student is having? Every student is having roll number. Every student is having what? Name. But my application is having different types of students. So there is a student. Okay, assume that this is one student. And assume that this is also one student. So there is a student. Who is this student here? MCA student. This student is a MCA student. MCA student is a type of which one? Student. So there is one more type of student. And what is it? Another type of student? MBA student. MBA student is also type of MCA student is a type of student. MBA student is a type of student. So what student is having? Roll number and name. So this roll number and name of student is inherited in what? MCA student. Roll number and name of student is inherited in what? MCA student. And this roll number and name of student is inherited in what? MBA student. It means MBA student is derived from which class here? Student class. So whatever variables are there in student class, that variables are inherited in which class? MCA student. Whatever variables are there in student class, that variables are inherited in which class? MBA student class. And this MCA student and MBA student, they have their own properties. Apart from the properties of which one? Student class. So student is called as which class now? Super class. Student is called as which class? Base class. Student is called as which class? Parent class. MBA student is called as which class? Subclass. Subclass, child class, and you also called as which class? Derived class. So derived class, okay, it is a specialized class, and it is also have its own functions and what? Yes, is having its own methods and what? Properties. So inheritance allows to build data types using existing data types. Now, based on the reusability of classes, you have a different types of inheritance. So what is reused here? Variables and methods of one class inside another class. What is reused here? The variables and methods of one class inside another class. Variables and methods of one class inside what? Another class. If you see this one, So this is based on the reusability of classes. So when you're talking about single level inheritance, in single level inheritance, there is one parent class. In single level inheritance, there is one parent class and one child class. So there is a A class and there is what here? B class. So this kind of inheritance, you call it as which one? Single level. This is called as a single level inheritance. So when you talk about multi-level inheritance, if there is more than one level of inheritance, if there is more than one level of inheritance, then it is called as which inheritance? Multi-level inheritance. So there is a class A, there is a class A, and there is a class B, and there is a class what here? C. Now C derived from which one? B, and B derived from which one? A. So this kind of inheritance, you call it as which one? Multi-level. This is called as multi-level. This is called as multi-level inheritance. This is called as single level inheritance. This is called multi-level inheritance. This is called multiple. There is A class and there is what here? B class. And there is what here? C class. Okay, assume that. Assume that this is a father and this is mother and this is what? Child. So child inherits the properties and methods of father as well as what? Now this kind of inheritance is called as which one? Multiple inheritance. If the class is derived from more than one base class, then it is called as multiple inheritance. This is called as multiple inheritance. So there is a single level inheritance, there is a multi-level inheritance, and there is a multiple inheritance, and there is a hierarchical inheritance. So there is a hierarchical inheritance. So if a class, if more than one class, if more than one class derived from same base class, if more than one class derived from same base class, then it is called as which one? Hierarchical inheritance. Now this you can call it, it is in the form of tree structure, right? So it is in the form of tree structure. Now this kind of inheritance, you call it as which one? Hierarchical inheritance. So there is a A class and there is a B class and there is what here? C class. And there is one more inheritance is there, which is called as hybrid inheritance. So if there is more than one type of inheritance, then you can call it as which one here? Hybrid inheritance. So cyclic inheritance, hybrid inheritance, all these are one and the same. So this is called as hierarchical inheritance, and this is called as multi-level inheritance, and this is called as multiple inheritance. So this is having multiple types of inheritances or not? Yes. So that kind of inheritance, you call it as which one? Hybrid inheritance. This you can call it as hybrid inheritance. If more than one type of inheritance, if it is more than one type of inheritance, then you can call it as hybrid inheritance. Now there is a class A, there is a class C and there is a class B. Now this is a class what here? C, and there is a class what here? D. Now this kind of inheritance is called as which one? Hybrid inheritance. Okay, so these are, so this is based on the reusability of classes. You have a different types of what? Inheritance. Based on the reusability of classes or based on the organization of classes, It has been classified into how many categories? 5 categories. Like single level, multi-level, multiple, huh? Then hierarchical, and one more is what? Hybrid. Okay. Yes. Then what is the syntax of inheriting a class? This is a syntax of inheriting. This is a syntax of inheriting what here? Class. How one class inherit another class? So one class inherits another class. Syntax of inheriting a class. And this is a syntax of inheriting a class. So how you are writing this? You are writing like this: class. So class name. Which class name it is? Derived class name. Which class name it is? Derived class name. Class name. But which class name? Derived class name. And it followed by parenthesis. And then you define which class here? Parent class. You define a parent class, but a class can inherit either one class or more than one class. And inside this, you can write your own variable. And what is that? Methods. It means child class is having all the variables and methods of which class, right? Okay, please try to understand this. Okay, please try to understand the syntax: class name, derived class name, and followed by which class name? Parent class names. And then inside this, variables and methods. So first we'll see. So the methods of parent class are automatically inherited. Methods of parent class are automatically inherited within the methods of parent class are automatically inherited within which class here? Child class. The methods of parent class are automatically inherited within child class. Okay. So you don't require now anyway private. So private members of parent class are not accessible. Private members of parent class are not accessible within what is that? Child class. But public methods of parent class are accessible in which class? Child. So the methods of child class. So methods of parent inherited. Methods of parent class are automatically inherited within child class. Meaning of this, for example, there is a class A is there. There's a class A and having a method called M1. So class A or A class is having one method called M1. So M1 is a method. Now I'm just writing print M1 of which class here? A class. So M1 is there. This is M1 of which class? A class. There is a class B is there. Class A is there and class B is there. And class B is derived from which class? A class. In this case, A is called which class? Parent class. and B is called as which class? Child class. Okay, now is it M1 method? Is it M1 method of A class? Is it inherited in B class or not? Yes. M1 method of A class is inherited in B class, and B class is having his own method called which one? M2. I'm trying to write M2 of which class here? B class. Now you can say how many methods are there in B class? How many methods are there in B class? Two methods. How many methods are there in B class? Two methods. One method is inherited from which class here? A class. One method is inherited from A class into which class? B class. Now the B class is having how many methods now? Two methods. One is M1 and one more is what? M2. So reusability, what is reused here? Variables. What is reused here? Methods. Suppose I create an object of which class here? B class. I created object of which class here? B class. And here I am writing object B dot M1. So when I say object B dot M1, it look for M1 method in which class? B class. Is it M1 method is there in B class? No. Then for B class, which one is the parent class? A class. Is it M1 is there in A class? Yes. Is it accessible in B class? Yes. Then call M1 method of which class? A class. In the same M2. Then it look for M2 method in which class? B class. Is it M2 method is there in B class? Yes. Call the M2 method. So first priority is given to which class? Subclass. If it is not there in the subclass, then it search in which class? Parent class. Because we create object of which class? B class. Then it will search for M1 method in which class? B class. Okay, it will search for M1 method in which class? B class. Is it M1 method is there in B class? No. For B class, which one is a parent class? A class. Is it M1 method is there in A class? Yes. Call it. M1 method is there in A class or not? Yes. Just call it. What is the message? I'll get M1 of A. Just try to understand this. Okay. After that, so methods of parent class. Methods of parent class are automatically inherited. Automatically inherited in which class? Child class. Now if you run this, now you can see M1 of A, M2 of what? B. Okay. This is the first point. This is the first point which you have to remember. We'll see the application. But first you understand the concept, right? So M1 of A and M2 of what here? B. So properties of parent class are not inherited automatically, not inherited automatically within which class? Child class. Properties are nothing but variables are not, yes. But variables of parent class, in order to inherit, properties are variables of us within child class, okay, within child class. What you have to do is child class constructor within child class, then child class constructor should call the constructor of which class? Parent class. Okay. So in order to inherit properties or variables of parent class within child class constructor should call the constructor of which class? Parent class. Then only it is inherited, otherwise it is not inherited. But methods can be used directly. But variables of parent class are not used what? Directly. You have to call Okay, you have to call, right? You have to call. Until unless you don't call, it's not done, right? So there is a class. Again, there is a class A is there. Just try to understand. So A is having constructor. So within constructor, I'm creating how many properties? Two properties. One is X and one more is what? Y. So A is having how many variables? Two variables. It means whenever I create A object, the A object is created with how many attributes? Two attributes. One is X and one more is a Y. A is having two attributes or two properties. One is X and one more is a Y. So this class A is inherited by which class? B class. So A is called as a parent class again. This is called as parent class, or it is called as which one? Super class. Then B is there. B is called as which class? Child class, or it is also called as which class? Subclass. A is a parent class and B is a child class. Now B is having his own properties. B is having his own properties here. B is having two properties. One is a P, whose value is 30, and Q, whose value is what here? 40. The value of P is 300 and the value of Q is what here? 400. So what will happen if I create object of B class? So what will happen when I create object of B class? This is an object of which class here? B class. This is an object of which class? B class. This is a B object. So whenever you create an object of a class, it will call which one? Constructor. It will call the constructor of which class? B class. And the constructor of B class having the reference of which object? B object. And within B object, it will create how many variables? Two variables. One is a P. And what is the value of P here? 300. It will create another property called Q. And what is the value of Q here? 400. But is it X and Y of A is inherited in B? No. Is it X and Y properties are inherited in B? No. Ring on. So it's created how many properties here? Only two. One is a P and one more is what? Q. But B is a child of which class? A class. Then it should also inherit X and Y or not? Yes. But is it X and Y are inherited or not inherited? Not inherited. Then how can I inherit it? Then I have to call which constructor here? Parent class constructor inside what? Child class constructor. I have to call the parent class constructor within what? Child class constructor, and that you are calling it. That you are calling it with what name? Class name. You can write A dot. What you are calling here? Init. And by sending the reference of which object? B object. So now what will happen now? So I'm creating object of which class? B class. I'm creating object of which class? B class. And this is object B. Created object B. On creation of object, it will call which one here? Constructor. And this constructor is having a reference of which object? B object. And this constructor is calling the constructor of which one? A. This is calling the constructor of which one? A. And this constructor is having a reference of which object here? B object. Then within B object, it will create a variable called which one? X. And what is the value of X here? 100. It will create one more variable called which one? Y. And what is the value of Y here? 200. Then is it execution of this constructor is completed? Yes. Then return to this derived class constructor and create one variable called which one? P. And what is the value of P here? 300. Then it will create one more variable called which one? Q. It will create one more variable called Q. And what is the value of Q here? 400. Suppose if I don't call this constructor, of which class? A class, is it X and Y are inherited in B? No. X and Y are not inherited in what? B. So if I want to inherit this X and Y of A inside B, it is necessary to call which one? Constructor. Methods are inherited automatically, but constructor is not inherited what? Properties are not inherited what? Automatically. You have to inherit. Yes. Now I'm saying OB is a B dot. What is that? X. And I'm saying OB is a B dot Y. And next I'm saying OB is a B dot. What is the next one? P. And OB is a B dot Q. So, but X and Y are inherited from X and Y are inherited from A into what? B. But how? By invoking the constructor or not? Yes. So if you run this, now X value is 100, Y value is 200, P value is 300, Q value is what? 400. Okay. Yes. Just to try to understand what is the advantage of using inheritance is a reusability of classes. You are using the content of one class inside what? Another class. You are using the content of one class inside another class with the help of what here? Inheritance. With the help of inheritance, you are using the content of one class inside another class with the help of what? Inheritance. For example, suppose in application development, suppose my application required to represent the details of three persons. My application required to represent the details of how many persons? Three persons. I want to represent the details of how many persons? Three persons. Okay, right? Suppose my application required. Suppose my application required the details of my application required to represent the details of some three persons. There is one person. There is one person. Who is this person here? Employee. Employee is a person, and what employee is having is employee is having some ID. Employee is having ID. An employee is having what? Name. An employee is having job. An employee is having which one? Salary. Now these are the details of which one? Employee. These are the details of employee. Now my application even required to represent one more person details. And that person is what here? Customer. My application required to represent whose details? Customer details. My application required to represent whose details? Customer details. Now what customer is having again? Customer is having again what? ID. Customer is having what here? Name. And customer is having what here? Credit limit. Customer is having what? Credit limit. Okay. So these are the details of which one? Customer. Now my application required even to represent the details of which one again? Supplier. Represent the details of supplier. And supplier, what supplier is having again? ID. Supplier is having ID and one more is what? Name. Supplier is having ID and name. Now employee is having ID, name, job, and one more is what? Salary. Customer is having ID, name, and what? Credit limit. and supplier is having what? ID and name. Now if you see these three classes, if you see these three classes, okay, is it these three classes are similar type or different type? If you see these three classes, is it these three are similar type or different type? Similar type. How can you say these are similar types? Because they are sharing the same properties or not? Yes. So employee is having ID and name. Customer is having what? ID and name. And supplier is also having ID and name. Is it all these classes are sharing the same properties or not? Yes. Then you write those properties how many times? One time. Then you write those properties how many times here? One time. One time. You write those properties how many times? One time. So there is a class. What is the name of this class here? Person. Person is a class. What person is having? Person is having ID. Person is having what? Name. So employee. Employee is what here? Person. Customer is what here? Person. Employee is what here? Person. Customer is what here? Person. Supplier is what here? Person. Okay, employee is a type of just here. Employee is a type of person. Customer is a type of person, and supplier is a type of person. It means employee is inherited from which class? Person class. It means is it inherit ID and name from person into employee or not? Yes. Now customer is inherited from which class? Person class. Is it ID and name of person is inherited in customer or not? Yes. Supplier is inherited from which class? Person class. Is it ID and name of person is inherited in supplier or not? Yes. How many times you declare these variables? One time. And used in how many classes here? Number of classes. Is a type of. Employee is a type of person. Customer is a type of person. Supplier is a type of person. Means you are trying to develop different types of persons by using which class? Person class. So your person is called as again which class? Parent class. Parent class, or you can call it as super class. And the supplier is called as which class? Child class. It is called as a child class, or it is also called as which one? Subclass. It is a child class, or the same thing you can call it as a subclass here, right? Yeah, just try to understand this one, right? So, for example, now let us write one simple example of what is that here? Single level inheritance. Reusability. This is called as reusability. Building some new data types by deriving the properties behavior from existing data types. Developing new data types. Developing new data types by using the properties and methods inherited from which data types? Existing data types, and that can be done by using which one here? Inheritance. Okay, so just try to understand this, what exactly advantage of inheritance is. What is the advantage of inheritance is? Okay, inheritance allows two things. One is called as reusability and one more is called as what? Extensibility. One is reusability and one more is a extensibility. Okay, right? Yes. Yes. Just try to understand this. Yeah. So what will happen here is, this is what you are trying to do it. Yes. So it is not inherited directly, right? Just to try to see this one. So class A is there and class B is there. So there is a class. What is the name of this class here? Person is there. Person is a class. And what person is having? Okay, assume that person is having a property. So there is one property here. Okay, private things are not accessible. Privates are used only within the class but cannot be used where outside. So person is having what here? ID is a private or not? Yes. Person is having a name and this name is also what here? Private. Is it this ID and name are accessible outside the class? No. This ID and name is not accessible where outside the class. Where I can use this ID and name? I can use this ID and name only in which class? Person class. But I cannot use this ID and name. I can use only within the person class, but I cannot use this person class. Then how can I access this with the help of methods? How can I access with the help of methods? Now, there is a method I write here. What is the name of this method? Set ID. Set ID is a method, and this method is having this method receive. What it receive here? ID. It receive the ID and then assign to which one? ID of the person. Self I. There is one more method called set name, and this set name method receive what here? Name, and you are assigning this name to the name of which one? Person. Self dot name equal to which one? N. Self dot name equal to N. Self dot ID equal to what? I. So these are used for assigning values or not? Yes. This is for assigning values. And if you want to read the values, you are using get ID. Get ID is a method that will return what? ID. So there is a method called get name. Now set methods are there and get methods are there. Set is for assigning values to the object and get is for reading values from the object. Set is for assigning values to the object and get is for reading values from the object, right? So where I'm saying return self dot, what is that? Name. So one is for assigning values and one more is for reading the values. Okay. So that is called as setters. These are called as setters and these are called as what? Getters. Okay, now. So there is a person. There is a person. Who is this person here? Employee. Who is this person here? Employee. Employee is a. Employee is what here? Employee is what here? Person. Employee is a person. Now, this is which kind of inheritance? This is which kind of inheritance? single level. This is called as which inheritance? Single level inheritance. Single level inheritance. Single level inheritance it is. Employee is derived from which class here? Person class. Okay. But employee is having his own. Employee is having his own properties. It means employee is having ID name and employee also having which one? Salary. But is it ID and name of person is inherited in employee? No. In order to inherit, what you have to do? You have to call the constructor. How you are calling the constructor? By using class name dot. You are calling which method? Init method. You are calling it by saying class name dot. You are calling which method? Init method, by sending the reference of which class object? Employee class object. So this self is referring to which object? Employee class object. Now you are sending this self to which one? Init method. So until unless you don't call the constructor of superclass, is it that properties are inherited or not inherited? Not inherited. Until unless you don't call this constructor, okay, is it this properties are inherited or not inherited? Not inherited. You have to call it. If you call it, then only those properties are inherited. I want to assign value to the salary, then I use set salary and I'm saying self dot. What is this here? Salary equal to S. And there is a get salary and this will return salary of the employee. Self dot. What is this here? Salary. So you have a setter methods and you have what? Getters. Suppose I create an employee object. Employee 1 equal to what is that? Employee. Employee 1 equal to employee. Employee 1 equal to employee. So I created object of which class? Employee class. I created an object of which class? Employee class. And after creating object, what I want to do is I want to assign values. So what will happen? Employee object is created or not? Yes. This employee object is created with how many properties? So there is employees having ID, employees having name, employees having salary. But this ID and name are inherited from which class? Person class. This ID and name are inherited from which class? Person class into which class? Employee class. This ID and name are inherited from which class? Person class into which class? Employee class. Now what is the name of this object? Employee 1. What is the name of this object here? Employee 1 having ID name and salary. Then how can, but this ID name is a private or not? Yes. If the data is a private, then how you access it? With the help of public methods. Public methods. Are you provided any methods for assigning value to ID and name? Yes. Yes. Are you provided any methods for assigning value to ID and name? Yes. What is the method? Set ID. And one more is what? Set name. Are you provided any methods for reading ID and name? Yes. What is that? Get ID and get name. Are you provided method for assigning value to a salary? Yes. What is that? Set salary. And one more method is what? Get salary. Now when you are developing a class, see, when you develop a class, you should know what variable should be written and what method should be written, right? So I want to assign values. Then I'm saying set. Set what is that? ID. This is assume that employee ID. Employee 1 dot set. What is the next one? Name. This you can call it as what? Employee name. Then employee 1 dot set. What is the next one? Salary. For assigning value to the employee number. One is for assigning value to what? Employee name. One is for assigning value to which one? Salary. After assigning values, can I get these values? You have which methods? Get ID, get name. But this get ID, get name methods are public or not? Yes. These public methods are inherited in which class? Employee class. Can I get this? Some employee ID equal to employee one dot. What is that? Get ID. Employee name equal to employee one dot. Salary, employee salary equal to employee one dot. What is it here? Returns the name of the employee one. Get his salary, return the name of the get his salary, return the salary of which one? Employee one. After that, I am trying to display what I am displaying employee ID. I am displaying employee name. I am displaying employee salary. Okay. Employee number, employee name and salary. You can see 101. Suresh and none. Why none here? Salaries. Set salary. This is one more underscore, right? I can see 101. Suresh and what is that? 50,000. Okay. So this is single level. In single level inheritance, there will be one base class and one derived class. One base class is there and one derived class is there. Okay, now. So you are using the content of one class inside what? Another class. By just using which one? Inherit. Now this you can call it as which class? Super class. Super class are the same thing. You can call it as what? Parent class. And employee class is there. This is called as a subclass, or it is called as which one? Child class. Is a super class or parent class, or you can say it is a subclass, or what is that? Child class. Okay, now. Suppose if it is multi-level, see the way how you are organizing the classes. Okay, suppose these changes will be done dynamically. Suppose if I add any new property in person, that property is automatically inherited in what? Employee. If you do any changes in base class, that changes will be applicable to which class? Derived class. If any changes are done in base class, that changes will be done in which class? Derived class. Okay, remember this. If any changes in base class, that changes will be done in which class? Derived class. Just try to understand this. Okay, so that is a base class, and one more is what? Suppose if it is multi-level inheritance, see this is only the way how you are deriving it, the way how you are organizing it. Based on that, you find different types of inheritances like single level, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical, and one more is what? Hybrid, like that. So that is based on the way how you are using it, right? Okay. Just to see here, this is an example for which inheritance? Multi-level. Now, which inheritance? Multi-level inheritance. More than one level of inheritance. More than one level of inheritance is called more than one level of inheritance is called multi-level. It's called which inheritance? Multi-level inheritance. More than one level of inheritance. More than one level of inheritance is called as which one? Multi-level. For example, there is a class. What is a class here? Person. Again, I am taking an example of person is a class. What person is having? What person is having? Person is having which one? Name. I take only one. Okay, now. Then to assign value to this person, I use one method called which one? Set name. This will receive the name and assign to which one? Name. Okay, this is person. There is a class. There is a class. What is the name of this class? Is assume that there is a person. Who is that person here? Customer. Customer means I can take this. Customer is a person. Or I take here account is there. Account. What is account here? Account is a person. It means every account is having which one? Name. Every account is having which one? Name. Every account is having a name. And apart from that, so you should call the constructor of which one? I should call the constructor of which one? Person. And it is also having which one? Account number. Account is having account number. Account is having name. Account is having what? Account number. Account is having account number. And account is having which one? Balance. Account is having account number as well as what? Balance. Now I'm trying to use set account number. This is used for assigning value to what? Account number. Self dot account number equal to A. If I want to assign value to the balance, set balance self comma B, and I'm saying self dot balance equal to which one? B. If I want to read it, I'll say get what is that? Account number, and this will return self dot what is that? Account number. If I want to return the balance, I'll say get what is that? Balance, and this will return self dot what is that? Balance. Self dot balance. So there is an account called which one? Saving account. Saving account is what here? Account. See here, this is more than one level or not? Yes. Saving account is inherited from which class? Account class. And account is inherited from which class? Person class. This kind of inheritance is called which inheritance? Multi-level. This kind of inheritance is called which level? Multi-level inheritance. This type of inheritance is called as a multi-level inheritance. Multi-level. More than one level of inheritance is called as which one? Multi-level inheritance. Just try to understand this. So saving account is which account here? Account. And account is what here? Person. But what saving account is having? Saving account is having his own properties, right? Apart from the properties of which one? Account. Account dot, you are calling which method? Init, by sending a reference of current object or not? Yes. You are calling the person dot init by sending the reference of what? Current object. It means saving account is calling init method of class. Sorry. So what is the name of this class? Saving account is a account. Okay. Then what saving account is having? Saving account is having some facilities. Like what is that? Check facility is there. And the value of this check facility is what? None. Then if you want to assign value, then I use setter method. This is a self, and it receives the value, and self dot check facility equal to which one? C, and get what is that? Check facility, and this will return self dot what is that again? Check facility. I just use only setters and getters. If you want, you can write deposit, withdraw, you can write all those methods. But I just write only setters. Setters are used for assigning values, and getters are used for reading values. Because always you create the object for storing what? Data. Why you create an object? To store the data. Now you create a saving account. When you create a saving account, a saving account is created with name, account number, balance, as well as what? Check facility. I want to assign values to the name, account number, balance, and check facility. So person is provided one method called what? Set name. And account is provided methods like set account number and set balance. And saving account is provided one method called what? Set check facility. Because The data which is there inside this class, is it that data is a private or not? Yes. If the data is a private, now account 1 equal to which account here? Saving account. Means what will happen here? It will call the constructor of which class? Saving account. And the constructor of saving account calls the constructor of which one? Account. And the constructor of account call the constructor of which one? Person. But your object is, which object is created? Saving account object is created. What is the name of this object? Account 1. And this account 1, what account 1 is having? Account number. Account number is there. And what is that? Balance is there. And it is having what? Name. And it is also having which one? Check facility. But the data which is there inside this is what? Private. When the data is a private, you operate it by using all these methods or not? Yes. You are operating it using which methods? Public methods. When the data is hidden, you access that hidden data with the help of which methods? Public methods. Now I'm just writing account 1 dot, what I'm saying? Set name. And this is the name of the student, right? Sorry, customer. Account 1 dot set. This is what here? Account number. Set account number. And this is account number. Account 1 dot set. Account 1 dot set. What is that set here? Balance. And this you can call it as a balance. Account 1 dot set. What is that? Check facility. And I just write here true. True means check facility is there. False means check facility is not there. Then I print it. Account 1 dot. What is that? Get account number. Okay, now. So this will return and print it. And account 1 dot get. What is this? Name. So this will return it. Then I'm saying account 1 dot. What is this? Get balance. And then print. Account 1 dot get. What is it? Check facility. So this will return check facility of it, right? So once you save, where is it? Oh, why this colon here? Set name, get name. Is there a set name? Get name is not there. So get name method should be there, right? Because this should return name or not. Yes. So 101 Naresh 50,000 and one more value is what? True. So this is the account number, this is a name, and this is balance. Yes. So this kind of inheritance, you call it as which one? Multi-level. Multi-level inheritance. If more than one level of, because see, you have to write it. Because I say no, you are building one new data type. You are building one new data type by derive. Suppose if you are learning, what you are learning? Django. Django is a framework, right? It is a framework which provide abstracts to inherit that classes and build it. For example, Django is that in Django, Django you find some. It uses one architecture called. It uses one design pattern or architecture called MVT, model, view, and template. MS Django application is divided into how many modules? 3 modules. One is a model, second one is view, and third one is what? Then how to develop a model? How to develop a view? How to develop a template? Example, the first example, You are developing one